What have the recruiting challenges been like, and just in terms of capping off that initial class and then picking up the pieces for this second cycle, all while adjusting to a new school?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that the guys that we'd already identified, both as a new staff and what the old staff had identified, making sure that we stayed on those guys and we got those guys to come in and see why this place is so special, to see that family is a huge part of who K-State has been and will continue to be. So that's been our biggest deal, is making sure that we've really stayed in touch with those guys and gotten them so that they know who we are, so they feel comfortable with us.
How quick did you pick up? I mean, you mentioned how special it is, the family. How quick did it pick up for you?
You know, pretty quickly, because once we got on campus, the number of people that really reached out to us and the amount of support that we've had just from people in the community has been pretty easy to tell. So then it's pretty easy to talk to parents about our experience in our short time, about how much people have reached out and the amount of support that there is.
The personnel you already had in place, do you feel like that in general fits pretty well in with your schemes?
Yeah, I think I think we got plenty of pieces that we'll be able to do what we want. We still have to get out on the field in the spring here and truly see what everybody brings. What are their skill sets? Because we can't force guys to fit what we want. We've got to go recruit guys that are going to fit what we want, but we also got to use the skills of the skill set that the guys bring to the table that are already here. So that'll be a big part for us this spring, is teaching what we want to do, but also figuring out what everybody brings to the table so we can get the most out of everybody.
Courtney, Brian Anderson. What kind of coach is he? He says he's known you for a while.
Yeah, I've known Coach Anderson, since probably he was about 18. I actually played in college with his brother. He's a guy that's got a lot of energy. He's a guy that really understands the game well. Was a wide receiver as a player, but then has coached running backs and wide receivers both quite a bit. Understands the run game really, really well. Obviously, when they were at Minnesota and Northern Illinois, when he was coaching at those two schools, they were very, very successful at running the football, yet they also were productive throwing the ball. So I'm fired up to have Coach Anderson on our staff.
Kansas State's had a tradition of being able to run the ball. It seems like he's really excited. How excited are you about this running game going forward?
Well, I think that there's a bunch of pieces already in place. Obviously, now we've got to go find the 2 or 3 tailbacks that will be the kind of the bell cows for us. But I think there's a lot of things in place for us to be successful running the football.
Thank you so much.
I think you're anticipating James Gilbert being one of those bell cows.
Yep.
You haven't got hardly any time around him. What have you seen so far that kind of excites you?
Well, I think, when you just have an opportunity to talk to him, he's got great energy. He's a guy that's looking forward to the opportunity to play in a Power 5 conference and show that he can be productive in that Power 5 conference. And, he kind of lights up when you start talking to him about the opportunity. And I think he's going to be all in for figuring out, how do I go learn this offense as quick as possible so I can get on the field and be successful.
Quarterback Jaron Lewis is also here, and he was a North Dakota State commit for a while, obviously. Are you seeing what you anticipated to see from it this point?
Yeah. To this point, and obviously there's been more conditioning stuff than really anything, but he's a guy that's very eager to learn, a guy that's jumped in right away, and yes, he's should still be a senior in high school. Now he's a freshman here, but he does not look out of place at all, and he's really done a nice job really getting to know the older players, and really, like I said, he's not missed a beat when it comes to getting into the conditioning aspect, and looks very, very good.
And I imagine you guys feel that Skylar fits this offense fairly well, since you tried to get him up to Fargo. Yeah,
Skylar's going to be a very good player for us, and I think he'll be a great leader for us. And the short time I've been around him, he's done a phenomenal job from the leadership standpoint.
And you've been very aggressive on the recruiting trail. I think some of that's a little bit out of necessity. When the period's open like it is now, are you guys probably going to be that aggressive each and every time?
Yeah, I think you've got to go find guys that fit who we are, and from a work ethic standpoint and the way they go about their business. I think we've done a good job in this recruiting class, and I'll be interested for Wednesday to get here so we can get them signed and then truly start worrying about spring practice.
You had to start kind of late, but are you excited with what you guys have accomplished on the recruiting trail?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. I think I think the class that was signed in the early signing period, we were very happy with that, and I think the guys that we have committed right now that need to sign for us on Wednesday are guys that will help us continue the tradition of winning football that K-State has.
And then I know you're the tight ends coach. You'll have the fullbacks as
Yes.
well. And
yeah.
what are your thoughts on who you got there, and maybe some guys that you feel like are going to be important for you?
Right now, I'm fired up about the length of most of the guys. I mean, we've got some guys with some length to them, some guys that can run pretty well. It's hard to know yet just how well we'll fit with everything we're going to try to do. But I know from a work ethic standpoint, I'm excited because what I've seen, they're not at all afraid to get after it. And if you'll work hard when it's in the conditioning and weight room aspect, I know they'll work hard when it comes to actually getting to put the pads on and play football.
Nick Lenners was supposed to be a big part of that for them last year, and he got hurt and missed nearly the entire season. Is he someone that's working back and on track?
Yeah, I think he's on track from a rehab standpoint and that type deal. I love his mindset because, he's a guy that in my short time with him, he's not let any of the adversity hold him back. He's worrying about the things that he can control and worrying about getting himself in a position to help us next year. So I'm excited about him.